Hey, hello, good morning, and welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show, Showdown Edition. Two teams on life support in the NFC. Can you believe that? It's 7-5. You'd think it'd be kind of like a relatively soft conference. It looked like it earlier this year, and now you have essentially reached the point. This is not hyperbole. For those of you unfamiliar with that word, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not patronizing you guys. I'm just saying sometimes people go, hey, what's that?
Tear him down from the top, set the bar. You piece of the shit out there. Laffy's going to explain it how it really is.
Well, because sometimes I'll say a word and they're like, what's that mean? I thought we knew that. But you guys are smart. You know what hyperbole means. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. Here's what I will say. Whoever loses this game, it's essentially the death knell on their playoff hopes. Go look at the NFL standings, Spags. And by the way, that's Chris Spags joining me every Thursday morning. Glad to have him here, and I know you are as well. I'll tell you, if whoever loses, like the Cowboys have a 9% chance of making the playoffs if they lose this game, and the Lions are at 20%. Go look at who's ahead of them. They would need not one, but multiple teams to just fully unravel down the stretch. And it seems unlikely. Massive game for both of these teams, man.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like it too. I mean, the Lions, Dan Campbell reclaiming the play calling, I think sort of speaks to a team being somewhat disappointed with what's been going on. And the injury is not great. I mean, they thought they were going to get, and you guys know I only care about skill position guys, but thought they were going to get Frank Ragnow back, who's been one of the better centers in football. He ends up having a torn hamstring. And I think you made this joke on one of the shows. Like, what was he just like walking around, like going, this is fine. No big deal.
And it wasn't me, but whoever it was,
it sounds like something you would say.
But yeah, he failed his physical and they're like, you can't play.
I actually really think in my brain, I conflated you and Evan Silva, which I don't know how that makes you feel, Laffy, as.
Yeah. Silva's funny as hell, man. And a lot of times it's unintentional, but I like Silva a lot.
Stokastic alum, Evan Silva, technically.
I used to do a lot of shows with him. So did you on the Friday show. Yeah.
I have to get him through his hangovers on Saturday mornings. Now
he's been sober now, right?
So, yeah. For
a while.
Then Alex Baker there every week too. But basically, they had Frank Ragnow, thought he was going to come back in. Now they've Amon-Ra St. Brown banged up, and they're like, well, he might get out there. I mean, he's not in the projection set, so I think that part's covered. I think there's no chance he plays, right? Like, it seems like they thought it was going to be a multi-week injury. It's a low ankle sprain, supposedly. But, it's still probably a week at least, if not two. He's a tough guy, but it's a quick turnaround. I don't see it happening.
We can only go off the information we have. And there are two very important pieces of information here. One, has he practiced at all this week? The answer is no. They say he might be able to play without practicing. Dan Campbell, St. Brown said that. He said he's a game time decision. Here's the other thing, though. Nowhere in the prop market will you find him. There is actually a third that's attached to that. Not only are his props not available in the prop market, but all of the other Detroit Lions props are available, and they're available with the assumption that Amon-Ra St. Brown is not playing. So what you'll see a lot of times, Spags, is they just won't post props for Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla. Tom Kennedy would not have a 35 or whatever it is receiving yard prop. Can you believe it? Our own CEO, Tom Kennedy, is going to get a shot in the regular season like he did last week.
It's funny because I was thinking this morning about that, and you would know better than I do because I haven't talked to Tom in a minute, but I presume he's hearing the Tom Kennedy thing a lot,
all
with
the time.
Him coming in last game. And now it's going to be a fever pitch national game against the Cowboys. So if Tom is sick of that joke now, he's going to get it. Oh, I didn't know Stokastic CEO was out there making catch 100 times tonight.
Right. And it's not even, it'd be more impressive if his name was Buster McGillivray. And that was, you see where I'm going with this, right? And Tom's name was actually Buster McGillivray. And now it's I can't believe there's another Buster McGillivray, not only on the planet, but in the same kind of area that we're in, and he's playing football. But it's basically like Dan Smith. Oh, wow. Can you believe Dan Smith is playing today and you have the same name? I can believe I have the same name as Dan Smith. So it's not really you do it once. It's fun, You throw it out there. It's fun. And you probably lean into it if you're Tom. But could you imagine if this Tom Kennedy became actually a fixture in the NFL? It'd be terrible. You'd have to listen to that every day. Like, his name's Tom Kennedy. You know how common those two names are?
Yeah, I have to say combined, I don't know that I've heard a lot in my life besides Stokastic
But it's
CEO
not
Tom.
something you hear and go,
No,
how do
like
you
it's
come
not my
up with a
name.
name like
My
that
name's
twice?
fairly unique, and even then, there's still a lot of Spagnolas out there. I'm sure there's enough Loughrans out there that you've seen.
Loughran, but sure.
Loughran, sorry. Well, yeah,
That's okay. Yeah.
Oh, you used to be Locky then. Why are you Loffy?
There's because everyone mispronounced it as a kid as Loughran, so all of my buddies just started calling me Loffy because it was always mispronounced.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's actually how it's. I know that's actually how it started. So it's a misspell or a mispronunciation nickname of my actual name because it was mispronounced. But no, I get what you're saying. There's a Loughran in the UFC. I don't know if he's still out there. I don't believe he was very good, but there's a Loughran in the UFC, and I would get tweets every time he was on the card, like, "Hey, what are you out there tonight? I didn't know you were a fighter." Cool.
Yeah, or for me with Steve Spagnuolo, it's like, oh, is that your uncle? Like, yeah, we're all related.
Right. Is that your long lost uncle? Oh, my God. Can you get me tickets to the Chiefs game?
Oh, when he was a Giants coach, it was the worst. It's like, I'm in New York, and they're like, oh, you must be related. You're in the same general geographical area. You got to be.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, now everybody knows that it's Laffy for that reason. I've told it before, but yeah, like my buddies would, because we'd be out or we'd whatever, and you go anywhere and they're like Loughran. So at that point they were just like, all right, no one can pronounce his name, so neither will we. We'll just shorten it. And it's stuck.
That's a guy friends.
Yeah, it's stuck. So anyway, it's like it seems highly unlikely that St. Brown plays. We have to approach the slate assuming he doesn't. There's really no other way to approach the slate right now, especially given the prop market. You're seeing all of these receiving lines and reception totals up quite a bit, but I actually think this is a great place to start on this game. And by the way, glad to have you guys here. Happy Thursday. It's cold down here right now. I may turn the heater on. I'm chilly. It's like 25 degrees in Pennsylvania right now. We're gonna tough it out. Who said we're not dedicated? My brother-in-law installs commercial windows like 4 stories up in the dead of winter. So, I'd like to see him try this.
So it's always funny when like people do real man work. Like one of our parent friends like does like roofing. He did our vinyl siding at one point when we needed it. Like really great guy. And it's like he saw me do the dishwasher. I was really impressed by it one day when they came over. But like I just sit here, I sit in the cozy studio rambling about things, and it's like you're out there with the wind chafing you, and that's real man activity.
They're real men, dude. Like my other brother-in-law. And by the way, we're super tight. We're close, because we just are. And like he does welding, he's a welder, not anymore. Now he's working elsewhere, but like the guy goes out and installs his own septic tank. Like, come on now. There's zero chance. I'm the type of guy. It's like, yeah, I'd like to just have public water, public sewer. I don't need a septic tank. I've said this many times. I've tweeted it. I have an immense amount of respect for those type of, especially living in the Northeast, Spags. Like you have those type of jobs, not only in the winter, but when it's scalding hot in the summer. It's not an easy way to live, and they wear out by the time they're like 40. I see them walking around. Getting up is tough. It's a tough way of life, man. So salute to you guys.
Roofers in the summer too. Like we had to get our roof done in the spring, and even that seems shitty. But like, let alone July where you have to deal with the tar. I'm like, yeah. Shout out to all the people out there working hard. I know some people do listen to the shows and the podcast versions when they're doing work like that. So kudos to all you real men out there, as us delicate little lady boys here.
Yeah, hopefully it's if nothing else, a small relief throughout your day. What are you guys doing right now? This is always fun. Let us know in the comments. What are you doing right now? For those of you working, we have a ton of mailmen, believe it or not, and delivery drivers like UPS, FedEx, and stuff who listen to the show, which kind of makes sense, but I love seeing it. I found out just inadvertently when I asked this question one year that like ton of mailmen doing this, listening to Stokastic. So Yeah, maybe we could get the government run USPS to sponsor this Stokastic strategy show.
And congrats to them on getting paid again. That's awesome too. It's helpful.
Yeah, that's
this
good.
Time here.
That's good. All right. Irrigation, forklift, IT guy, Brinks. Oh, are you driving the truck?
That's
better not get distracted, man.
Might have come around here, open the back door, see what falls out.
Yeah. Anyway, if St. Brown's out, assuming he is, right? I don't know if you've seen these numbers. I assume you have. You dig deeper than I do typically. Jared Goff this season's been very bad under pressure, like bad under pressure. He hasn't thrown a single touchdown when he's been pressured this year, and he's not completed. We saw it against Philadelphia. We've seen it in many situations. His safety valve has always been Amon-Ra St. Brown in these situations. I'm not necessarily sure Tom Kennedy is going to be able to fill those shoes today. Sorry, Tom. Or, Jameson Williams is good, but is he that style of player? You're going to have Kennedy, presume, operating primarily out of the slot like we saw last week. I assume the game plan will be changed a little bit now that they have time to prepare a full week. But, Isaac Tesla, he's been a deep threat, and he was targeted twice, played 92% of snaps. It feels like Jahmyr Gibbs, this could be a day where they just pepper him with opportunities in the passing game. This Dallas D-line, even before Quinnen Williams at the deadline, has looked much better. They're generating a ton of pressure. I actually laddered Gibbs today. That's the one prop I actually like. But to me, I think this is a great place to start. How do they combat this pressure, and can they pass block for Jared Goff?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And certainly, the stuff you mentioned already does back out with the underlying analytics as well for Jared Goff, where under pressure, getting sacked 6.1% of the time. The EPA is really bad, though. Generally, a decent QB, honestly, a pretty good QB, around like a negative 0.3 EPA per dropback under pressure. Jared Goff is at negative 0.7 EPA per dropback on pressure plays. For comparison, Dak in the same game, negative 0.2 EPA per dropback. So playing pretty well under pressure on the Dallas side. Jared Goff, not so much. And I agree, losing that safety valve, in addition to losing Laporta, you do have more blocking forward tight ends with Dwelly leading the way there. And I guess Ferkser as well, playing whatever he plays behind him. But, it's not a great situation for him to have those check down options. And I think it's going to benefit, Tom Kennedy in his spot. I think Tesla as well, playing a ton of snaps, it should be good. But I do think it adds sort of an interest level to the Cowboys defense here, where I think they get lit up in terms of points, but can they get enough sacks today? Can they get takeaway? Can they get a pick six or something like that off the pressure? I think that's what makes it interesting, because like we always talk about here, when you have a game where it's a shootout, I like playing the defense a little bit more in a showdown because people just don't play it. Certainly the Cowboys, I think, give up a ton of points here. It's reflected in the total, even without Amon-Ra St. Brown, 28.5. And Gibbs, definitely a credible way to do that. But to me, it makes me immediately think like Cowboys get 5 sacks here. That could be enough to make a lineup at low ownership.
For sure. But also, like, I don't know, this Lions offense has concerned me a little bit lately. And if it's not the offense, the defense too, against the Giants. I know Gibbs had those 2 monster runs, but there were times in that game where the offense looked like they just kept stalling out. Last week as well, were they ever really going to win that game? Were they ever really going to win that game against the Packers? It didn't feel like they were. Against the Eagles, another one of those games. Now, this one is indoors. So was last week, for what it's worth. Do they have 3 straight home games?
Yeah, I believe Jared Goff doesn't play outside in the fantasy playoffs. It was what I recall from the preseason.
Yeah, they play 3 straight home games. They do. That's odd.
And then their week 17 is also at another team that's in a dome, I think, right? They play who do they fucking play?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they have the Rams. So they have
okay.
Cowboys this week, Rams next week, home. No, Vikings week 17 outside.
No, Vikings is inside.
No, it's at Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's inside.
Oh yeah, duh. Okay, you're right. Brain fart.
That's all right.
Yeah, all done.
Yeah, that would be sick if Minnesota was outside. It'd be so cold there.
Yeah, that'd be like Cleveland level stuff, but wasn't a fun football game versus the Niners. So maybe we don't want more outdoor teams in that area.
Yeah, you honestly might be right. But I am a big fan of some of those elements games. Like the Steelers Browns game last year with Winston was awesome. Some of my best memories watching football are just terrible weather games. The LaShawn McCoy game against the Lions, where he ran all over them. And that was a freak storm, by the way. Like my dad, he was a doctor, worked in Philly, and he would drive from the suburbs to the city, and he got stuck on 95 for a long time. They got like 8 inches in an hour and a half or something like that. It was crazy. So that was one of the most enjoyable games I've ever seen. So anyway, let's pull up the Sims here, Spag, see what we can get. I know Dak we're going to get a lot of Dak. We're going to get a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. I suppose I was asking about Dallas earlier, but really I was asking about Gibbs because I think there's just, I really believe it's tough to get away from him. And I know against the Green Bay Packers, he struggled, but that's a much better defense. Even I have a lot of respect for Dallas's defense right now, but the difference is that I think Gibbs can still work really well in this matchup. I mean, Dallas has been carved up by pass catching running backs this season. And Gibbs, this to me does not feel like the type of game where David Montgomery gets a lot of work. I know last week he had some opportunities. He scored, still a highly underwhelming game despite scoring. Gibbs feels like without St. Brown, the guy that they have to go to a lot. And I'm going to have a tough time, even at his price point, getting away from him. He's my favorite play on the slate.
Yeah, and I think to your earlier point, I mean, there is a lot of target share being given up by Dallas to running backs, a 19% target rate, which would be one of the higher marks in the league. 2 RBs along with a good 0.14 EPA per RB target. And really, it comes down to the fact that Gibbs is earning more targets than anybody else on the team right now. 29% target per out run rate. Obviously, Amon-Ra would be close to that range, but nobody else on the team above 20% at receiver. And Montgomery is number 2 at 22% target per out run. So Gibbs should be one of the benefits. And, the Cowboys are a team that it just feels like you can attack horizontally. They don't miss as many tackles as a team like the Giants does, but still 17% avoided tackle rate, which would be towards the bottom part of the league. I'm with you. I think Gibbs, to me, is he in every lineup play? I think the Sims come in a little bit light in the flex. I get it. I feel like I'd be comfortable putting him in every lineup because I really find it hard to believe that PPR wise he doesn't get there. And frankly, the fact that he's not 11K on the slate, I think is baffling with how good he is. So I'm with you. I think it's not really a Montgomery spot. He could still get there, but I think Gibbs makes it easy. I actually have the wrong salaries on, my bad. But yeah, point being for Gibbs at 11K, still a very strong play and one of those spots to me that I find him borderline unfadeable on a showdown.
I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 11K is not that much for Jahmyr Gibbs, all things considered, right? It's really not. This is a guy that has over 1,000 rushing yards already this season. And I say that because while he only has 400 receiving yards, he could pop off 100-yard receiving game any given week. It's doable. And now that St. Brown is not expected in, we don't need to belabor the point here, but yeah, I just think Gibbs looks fantastic. By the way, a lot of very cool and impressive jobs, impressive jobs coming in chat. If the DFS industry and the betting industry implodes, Spags, I may be hitting some of these people up in the coming months.
Yeah, just post your resume in the chat just in case you ever need it.
I should hit me, DM me, let me know there's a spot for me. But I love Gibbs. Look, Jameson Williams has an 80-plus yard receiving prop today. I understand it. He's right now $8,400. That is just wrong with the assumption, and I'll say it one more time for those of you guys jumping in late, but with the assumption that there is no St. Brown today. I know he's never going to be like a true volume receiver, a true possession guy. 10 targets, 144 yards, a really good game last week too. I mean, acceleration, the broken tackles, just everything you saw from Jameson Williams, yards after the catch. He honestly looked great last week, man. Felt like the lone bright spot in Detroit, or for Detroit against the Packers on Thanksgiving. Do I think he is going to give you these type of numbers every week that St. Brown sits? No, but there's no reason he should be 8,400 without St. Brown on a slate like this. No way. With that over, or with that total, just no way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think the one thing that stands out is maybe a reason to, lightly dampen the enthusiasm for Jameson Williams, that he has been kind of mediocre versus man defense. That might not matter with the fact that you don't have Laporta and Amon-Ra. I would actually bet it doesn't matter too much, but he is only getting targeted 15.7% of the time he's running a route, which is pretty low. Tom Kennedy versus zone, for comparison, it's obviously much smaller sample size, but a 22% target rate versus zone. So your guy who can run routes better out of the slot, getting targeted versus zone sort of bears out. Tight ends are good versus zone. Guys that get open in spots, that's sort of the guys that do the best. Whereas JMO is a guy that versus man defense, I think more explosive. But the Cowboys, playing zone 65% of the time, it's been a thing where, they've gotten killed by certain teams because of that, have hung in against other teams because of those splits as well. So I'm with you on it. I think JMO is too cheap, but I do think it's weird. His projection's crazy high. So I get it and should be. But matchup wise, it's a little bit of a weird fit where JMO can do more, I think, than they've given him. But a team is going to sit back. It's not really your perfect JMO matchup.
I think you're right. And also, when you look at last week, I talk about this often where, in basketball too, not that I talk as much basketball anymore, but I was always careful if a player got hurt in the first half and then another guy started the second half. I was always very careful going into the next game, assuming the starter was out, just assuming that guy who started the second half the previous game is going to get the start and get the majority of opportunity and minutes, because then you have a coach who has time to kind of game plan and sit back, where in game you're doing it on the fly, and you had to do it on the fly against the Packers. Amon-Ra St. Brown went down on the first or second drive. Do I think that Jameson Williams is still going to play an integral role in this offense? Yes. Do I also think that the Dallas Cowboys, because you could talk about the Green Bay Packers defensive game plan too, right? Going into that game, it's all right, you got to slow down St. Brown. You just have to. And Gibbs. And sure, Jameson Williams, but it's kind of the third guy on the totem pole. Now, is there not just a clear incentive to take a guy like Williams out of the game and force Isaac Tesla, a rookie, and a, no joke, career practice squad player, Tom Kennedy, wouldn't you, and I think this is what you're saying, really emphasize putting, the clamps down on Jameson Williams?
Yeah, I would think so. And it is a spot too where, JMO getting targeted about 13 air yards per target. I mean, Tesla's at 15 too. So if you want to critique him for it, you can. With a team that creates a lot of pressure, Cowboys generating pressure on about 33% of their plays, hurrying the QB on half of those, 16% rate, getting sacks at an 8% rate. All these are, top of the league kind of marks. It could be harder for Jameson Williams to get where he needs to go. So you have a team that's going to be dedicated to stopping him now because they've had at least a partial week to prepare for a situation where probably Amon-Ra's not going. They put a lot of good JMO film on tape last week with how he played. I just think, to me, with how owned JMO is going to be and the fact that he projects crazily highly, so he'll be an optimizer play plus people that are building laps in the toilet going to be the first guy he puts in as well as probably Jameson Williams. I think the fact that we know that going in, JMO, I get why the projection's high. I get why he would be theoretically a good play versus Dallas defense that's so bad. But what if it's, the other receivers that hit? What if it's Kennedy plus Tesla plus one of Dwelly or Ferkser, Gibbs too, as Lafayette's made a great case for? I think that's entirely possible. I just think, to me, Gibbs, I mentioned, Gibbs, even at that elevated price tag, I think makes every lineup, if I had to guess. Jameson Williams, I think, has a lot of outcomes where he doesn't hit, and that's your way to jump the field.
Yeah, I hear you. Don't get me wrong. I still like Jameson Williams today because he's still Jameson Williams' ceiling is crazy high. It really is, especially without St. Brown. But I do think that if I were to take his receiving prop today, metaphorical gun to the head, and it's do you want the over or under on 83.5 yards for Jameson Williams? Spags right here on FanDuel. I mean, 85.5 on BetMGM, a little bit more juice. I would take the under. That's not because I don't like him. I just think there are far more ways for Jameson Williams to fail.
Yeah. And I think too, what really stands out to me is I think people are going to think he's like a lock. You see the price tag, you see the projection. I get why. I just think that it's one of those spots. It's a lot more volatile, especially given a lot of the factors we talked about, the pressure, how Goff handles that, the fact that they really don't have other legit weapons, and who are going to sell to stop Jameson Williams or Isaac Tesla, Jameson Williams or Ross Dwelly, Jameson Williams or Tom Kennedy. You're going to sell to stop Jameson Williams, and Gibbs obviously as well. But it's hard to stop what Gibbs does. I think there are ways you could stop Jameson Williams, but definitely a big cosign and yardage from the prop markets, if nothing else.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. Also, the total's so high that I think, the expectation is they just go back and forth. I'm really concerned about the offensive line for Detroit. Maybe I'm overreacting to that. It's possible. They are at home, but if Dallas continues generating the same pressure that they have, Jared Goff has not had a lot of time to throw at all. So, does he get some time to throw downfield to Tesla? Maybe. But what do you make of the fact that last week he played I think it was 92% of snaps. So he's essentially running a route on almost every drop back and was targeted 2 times in the game. Yeah, he ran 30 routes. He ran one fewer route than Jameson Williams and was targeted 2 times there. I mean, he had essentially been phased out of the offense. Now, I do think that he's absolutely viable today. You're talking $4,400 at the flex. Tom Kennedy at the flex is $2,000. These guys are just a necessary evil in a game like today. There's no way you're not going to end up on Tom Kennedy at $2,000. Isaac Tesla, 25%. We're getting with the field. I have 2 uniques favorite in the Sims right now. He's $4,400 because not only do they not presumably have St. Brown, but you also do not have Sam Laporta. You don't have Brock Wright. And more importantly, maybe you don't have Khalif Raymond. So this is not just one guy being out. There are 4 players who were getting playing time, 2 of them very significant. Raymond becomes a whole lot more significant. And Brock Wright, they're down to what? Ross Dwelly now? So this is for sure a neutered offense.
Yeah, I think Tom Kennedy is a great play today. I mean, visually what we saw last game, Jameson Williams looked explosive, whatever. He looked really good. So I don't want to poo-poo him too much, but I thought Kennedy looked really good out there relative to the opportunities they gave him. And he did, immediately uptick over 40 snaps in that game with Amon-Ra only playing 4. So I think for Kennedy at 2K, you're just getting a lot of snaps. You're getting the slot role that's been so valuable. He's not going to be Amon-Ra, but he'll get targeted probably more than he should because of the fact that he's filling in for a guy that's been a massive target earner. And on the year still, Kennedy hasn't played a bunch, but 19% target per out run rate for him. Solid for a guy, especially that's like a slot, low ADOT kind of target guy. 0.8 EPA per target. That's probably going to come down. But if he keeps somewhat of the efficiency while getting targeted a little bit more, I think he's really hard to not make a lineup that if you think the Lions have any success today and it's not all going to Jameson Williams and Gibbs, I think that's a decent shot. It does go Tom Kennedy's way.
I could see that being the case too. He's just so cheap at this point that you're probably going to have to look to his way. I don't see how you don't. David Montgomery, 7,000 at the flex. We're getting slightly above the field there. I understand it. I don't love Montgomery today though. Maybe it's because of how much I like Jahmyr Gibbs. And if I end up being wrong, sure, that could absolutely work against me. But David Montgomery hasn't really shown any juice in the sense that, they'll get some opportunities, in good matchups. He's going to be able to move the ball down the field. And the Lions have a weird rotation in where sometimes they'll just alternate drives with these guys, assuming one of them's playing well on that drive. 7,000, I think, is fine, but I don't view him as a discount today, to be honest. And I think you probably need a touch. Actually, I'm almost certain you'd need a touchdown to get there.
Yeah, and I think he can get that touchdown. I mean, I agree with you. Like, he really last year I thought played pretty well, especially pre-injury. But I think even post-injury looked okay. This year, though, his numbers to me look pretty Joe Mixon-esque. Like 7% avoided tackle rate. Gibbs is at 26%. So the literal lack of juice there. It's a little bit closer in the pass game. But still, when you can't force missed tackles in the run game or have guys fall off of you, it's not a great sign usually for how I view running backs. But he's still getting 2.3 red zone opportunities a game, 1.5 inside the 10-yard line per game. It's dead even with Gibbs. Gibbs gets more overall in the red zone with 4 per game. But the fact that when it gets close, you're getting a good shot at Montgomery being there. I think that Montgomery works. I think he works with Gibbs too. Certainly, if you're fading the pass game a little bit, I think it would look a little better too. But yeah, I'm not like nuts about Montgomery. Sim is giving me 29% in the top 150 in the flex. Fields at 20. I think that feels about how I feel about him. I want a little bit more, but I don't want to go crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just at a point now where I don't think there's really any denying that Gibbs is a far superior running back than David Montgomery.
Doesn't preclude him from getting a touchdown, though.
It doesn't at all. But we saw it, and I understand this is a 1-game slate and not a 3-game slate. But even on Thanksgiving, Montgomery did score, and it was kind of like, okay, who cares? And in a game with the total this high, what's the total? Like 52 or something?
Yeah, 50. Wait, is it 54?
Is it that high now?
Yeah, I pulled it this morning at 54.
Jeez, dude. It just keeps going up. That's kind of the issue for me, is that he actually, a touchdown isn't just a flat out win for him. Like, Montgomery could score and still not be optimal.
Yeah, it's
$7,000.
It's not a great Cowboys run defense either. Like, the pass defense is the one that you could really, point to as bad. And there's more volatility there because of the pressure they generate, which is a good thing, but they're giving up the big plays constantly with that isn't. But the run defense isn't good. Like, I don't know. I think he's very live to make it in the flex. And I say it's somebody that, like, I fully agree with you as Gibbs. So much better, more all the juice in the world. Montgomery's role, though, is still like 25 snaps with Gibbs. I mean, last week at 45. That's a good enough role, I think, where you can get 40 to 50 yards on a touchdown. I think he's got a good shot making it flex. I think a less good shot of making it captain.
I could see it. It's just not one of my favorite guys today.
Yeah, I got it.
Looking at the flex position, it's hard not to like Dak there, honestly. And, Pickens and Lamb are the same price now. What do you do now that they're the same price? I mean, we'll get to Javonte, we'll get to Ferguson, but you've got a $9,600 Lamb, $9,400 Pickens. They have identical props today as well.
Yeah, I don't have a great lean here. I mean, Detroit is a heavier man defense team. They play at about 41% of the time, which is one of the higher marks in the league. CeeDee Lamb has been the better man defense beater. Commands targets a third of the time he's running a route versus man, compared to about 23% for Pickens. Pickens does better versus zone. So I would give a little bit of a lean to CD for the matchup. But it really comes down to who hit last game. I feel like generally for these guys, where CeeDee Lamb hit last game, Pickens hit the game before that, probably means that people go to Lamb a little bit more. But Pickens is the exact same price, exact same projection, basically. So you could roll the dice here. My lean relative matchup would be Lamb, but like, honestly, these guys I feel like can hit. I mean, they can hit whenever, really. I think the bigger thing to do would be to somehow fade the Cowboys pass game, but that doesn't seem like the best move either.
Man, that's a ballsy move.
Because everyone's going to play one, right?
Probably. Yeah, and the Lions are dealing with injuries too, Kirby Joseph can't get right with that knee injury. He had something happen the other day where he's like, he posted something on Instagram. It was like, I'm lost for words. I can't believe this, and then deleted all his social media. And then they talked to him in the media about it a few days later, and he was just giving one word's answer. It's like, my knee's messed up. I don't know what to do. Basically, it's never. And Dan Campbell even suggested it's not something that's really ever going to go away. They just have to build his knee up. So no Kirby Joseph. Terrion Arnold's on the IR, and he's done for the year now with a shoulder injury. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson, they haven't really been able to get a ton of pressure. And Dak Prescott's been really good under pressure regardless. Dak, honestly, I'm kind of pulling this out of my ass. He might be the best quarterback under pressure this season. If not all right. So yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks under pressure this year for sure.
Yeah, I would think with the number here, I have to see how I could sort it because I have it weirdly here, but I could find that number. But yeah, the negative 0.22, he should be one of the best marks in the league, I would think. And then, if you give me a second, I could sort by pressure and confirm because I know I get OCD about confirming these stats.
He's definitely up there. There's just very little doubt in my mind.
Out of guys with a real sample size, who's been really good under pressure this year? Jameis Winston, negative 0.02 EPA per dropback, but he hasn't played a lot. Daniel Jones a little bit better. Mahomes a little bit better. Tyrod Taylor and Mason Rudolph a little bit better at small sample size, but then it's Dak. So yeah, really top of the league next to some of the elites.
So if you removed Winston and Tyrod Taylor and Mason Rudolph, who all have played like only a handful of games combined, yeah, he's top 3 or something. So
yeah, you're talking Daniel Jones, who obviously part of that Colts renaissance, Mahomes number 2, and then Dak.
Right. So I don't want to fade the passing game today, to be honest with you. I'd rather fade the run game for the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't think that's unreasonable. The pass defense for Detroit is a little bit better. Negative 0.03 EPA per dropback, negative 0.03 EPA per pass, compared to a negative 0.01 per run play, which is closer to league average. The pass defense is above league average. But, one thing that stands out is Detroit is deflecting a lot of passes this year, 11% pass deflection rate, but they're under league average in INTs. With how much Dak drops back, he's not a sloppy passer. He's got one of the highest catchable ball rates in football right now. So I don't say there's a guarantee here. I think you get a pick on Dak here. Maybe that's one of the ways the game stays closer to the Lions side of the total.
I could see it, sure. I mean, look, when it comes to defenses, we're over the field on the Cowboys, which I actually don't hate at all. I don't think that's crazy. I know Jared Goff doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, right? I think he's only thrown like 5 interceptions on the year, but there have been some real breakdowns as far as protection goes and keeping that pocket clean. So I don't hate it. The Cowboys defense has looked a lot better lately. And I know last week they weren't great, but it's still Mahomes in a must-win game, and they made stops when they needed to. Lions defense, I think I actually like the Lions defense a little bit less, but both of these teams are viable if you're looking there. Both of the kickers in this dome game are absolutely viable. I mean, Aubrey's always viable. The problem is that he's expensive, which is why we're basically getting with the field. And then Bates isn't much cheaper than he is either. Both of these guys have actually had some solid games this year. I'm not getting into like kicker stats, but both teams are pretty high octane and both defenses are not bad. I'm saying it now. Like Dallas's defense is not bad anymore. This is a team that you have to adjust to.
They're I think they're still bad overall. They just
They
do one thing that masks the badness. The creating pressure can in small stints mask how bad they are. But like people think, the results too, like beating the Eagles, win streak that they're on. I think that it's a good day to still consider the Cowboys defense bad, but capable of like creating pressure is what I would say. But one thing for Jake Bates, I would ding him for is like the Lions go rate. I feel like whenever Jake Bates is coming up a lot, I tend to go like, all right, well, what if the Lions just go for it every 4th down? 26% ownership for Bates, more expected than Aubrey. It's a lot for Jake Bates for a team that loves to go for it on 4th down and maybe has to do it even more with the Cowboys on the other side.
That's a good point too. Only 52% of converted 4th downs this year for the Lions. Although to be fair, they were 75% before the Eagles came. I got to say though, I don't fully agree with that. Now, I'm not going to argue you thinking they're bad, me not thinking they're bad anymore, because it is still the Lions, so it's almost irrelevant. The Lions could still go out there, even though they're decimated on offense. I don't think you could say a good pass rush can hide a bad defense, because a good pass rush is more critical than anything to making a defense passable. Like, would you rather have elite corners and no pass rush, or an elite pass rush and no good corners? Because to me, I don't even think that's a question.
I mean, the Cowboys are an elite pass rush with not good corners. I think the Broncos have a good pass rush, so it's not quite apples to apples.
They have the best pass rush in the league without having to blitz or bring 5.
Yeah, but I mean, but they're not creating pressure at the same rate like Dallas is. Like Dallas is getting a lot of pressure, but I mean, like this is something that I talk about a lot with Showdown stuff on my streams, and I think we talk about it a little bit here. But like, if you have a quarterback who drops back a lot versus a defense that creates a ton of pressure, it's just extra volatility to the situation. So like that QB can take advantage of the pressure, have a great outlier day, or the defense can get home more than usual, and that guy has a bad day as a result. But like ultimately, I think it increases the volatility of it. But Dallas' underlying numbers are still bad. Like if you're giving up a 0.16 EPA per dropback, you're still giving up first downs left and right. You're giving up touchdowns. You're knocking the team back. So like you're reclaiming some EPA through that. But if you keep giving up deep plays, like it ends up, again, like masking a situation, or you get stints where they get sacks, but then the next game they get strafed downfield more. So I think it's still pretty volatile. And I mean, seeing the chat talk about it, they think that Dallas is like a good defense now. Underlying numbers do not support that even a little bit. Just the pressure is good.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're good. What I'm saying is I think if you have a very good pass rush, it can destroy an offense.
Yes, but I think it eventually catches up to you. Like a good pass rush, like you don't always get home on the pass rush, and that's
for sure. Yeah, that's why there's going to be chances here. What I'm saying is that I like, obviously, Tom Kennedy, Jahmyr Gibbs, all of these guys. This is just an argument that a good pass rush can create a lot of problems, and on a showdown slate is a defense that I'm willing to take shots on, because a good pass rush is the number one. I don't think you'd argue this. The number one way to create turnovers is with a good pass rush.
Yeah, because you're introducing the more volatility. Like basically the QB can either chuck it, make a bad play there, take a sack, take a fumble. Like there's more events. Like I feel like Ben would probably be better explaining this, but like the probabilistic events get more centered around bad stuff happening. Usually, I think is the best way to say that.
It's a very fun game tonight. It was a good game.
Yeah, there's wrinkles to it. Like I think, and that's the thing too, is I think people are going to be like shootout, like, and maybe that's the the Dunning-Kruger curve, and I'm on like the middle idiot part. But I think people are just gonna be like, "Durr, shootout, it's gonna go burr," and it's like, no, there might be more nuance to this where a defense makes it. I think it's possible you get the point totals and both defenses make it. That's not going to get played very much, but you're talking about 19% combined ownership for the defenses. I think the defense is interesting here today in a way that, in a shootout game, maybe they're not always.
You said the same thing about the Cardinals when they faced the Cowboys. And, what was the game the other week where both one was Cowboys Cardinals, but then there was another game the other week that nobody wanted to play defense, and it ended up being a ridiculously ugly, low scoring game.
And was that the Texans one? I feel like Texans were
right. The Texans. That's another one. So there you have it. Anyway, Spags, we're going to get into a few more guys here. Before we do, though, check this out. Another 25K win. This time yesterday in the NBA streets. How about that, man? First place, Skull Crusher, 25,000. Came in 6th, 11th, and 28th as well. Just unreal. These tools have been killing it, man. They really haven't. You look at some of these other ones. What is that? C. Pirello, first out of 60,000 for $700 in these low stakes contests. That's why we tell you all the time, if you want to jump in, here's a $200,000 win from last week. There was a milli win from the week before that. Another milli, 2 other milli wins this year. I can't stress it enough. If you're saying, hey, I want to get in on these tools, but I'm not really sure what the best way to go about it is. The tools are expensive. Not when you just take advantage of this, right? If you jump in with the link in the description, just follow these 4 steps, sign up with any of our sportsbook partners or pick'em sites or sweepstakes books. If you're in non-legal betting states, there's something for everybody. And some of them, like Onyx, give you 100 in bonus picks when you spend 10. All of them have some type of sign-up bonus. If you're in like Missouri where betting just went live, do yourself a favor. Before you sign up on all these books, Do it here. Collect all of those great bonuses and get free months of the Sims. The reason I mentioned NBA Spags is because I know a lot of people here have NFL subs and they might be running them through this, or they may have just used the Black Friday sale, which if you did, you can still jump in here. If you sign up on 2 of these, you could get a month of NFL and a month of NBA. You could get 2 months of NBA if you already have NFL. You can mix it and match it however you want, and essentially just free roll the tools until you run out of books and pick'em sites to sign up for. That is a true statement.
Yeah, and it's great to get the tools. And I would say really more than anything, I try to say at every show that I do, whether it's here or on my own channels. But like at this point, if you have not used Sims for NBA or NFL especially, just using them, understanding how they work, doing that, it's a worthwhile endeavor. And the fact you could get it for a month for free and actually, understand what you're doing down the home stretch, the most important part of the NFL season, where the data is also the strongest. And I think the results a lot of people are having kind of speak for that. It's a really good time to do it, but the fact you get stuff for free, I don't think there's anybody else in the industry that offers that. There
isn't. No way. 2 things here before we keep going. I want to pull the boom bust tool up as well. Top single game and showdown plays tool, which gives us all of that information. Rand, stuck with pick 6. You don't even have Onyx? What state are you in? That sucks. Clayton Lobby, the comment on hand building you made was the one on X, the thread I did. Thanks, man. Yeah, a lot of hand builders have been crushing. Spags, dude took down 60K with hand-built lineups using the single lineup Sims on Sunday. 3 different contests. He had a 20, a 15, and I think a 25, which is just insane. He had like 5 total lineups across all of those and took down 60K and used the single lineup Sim. That's the stuff I like to see, man.
I use a single lineup Sim to make a profit. It's so annoying because like I got the I was the only person in the industry. I feel like, well, maybe you were Lofty because you're always sharp about the stuff. But I was like Tyrod Taylor. I was on Live Before Lock. Tyrod Taylor's on my own show. Tyrod Taylor, and he hits, and you get the 80 Mitchell right. And I'll tell you what, man, I did not win 60K. So maybe I didn't spend enough time on the single lineup Sim. But it always hurts when you get like that core thing that nobody's on right. And you're like, well, fuck, I made some money, but it wasn't all the money like so many users are making this year. Shout out to all you guys.
It's painful. I've done that twice this year with real shots to win and then slipped late. When I went in on like a sub 1% Jake Browning with Jamar Chase against the Lions, and he had wild blowout run, and I was the only person on that, and I was like 3rd in the power sweep until late and fell to 10th or something. And then my Davis Mills play with Nico against Jacksonville, just like you with Tyrod Taylor and Adonai Mitchell, like, I nailed it. But DFS is so tough that you have to get everything right.
Yeah,
it's tough, man.
Tuka Nakua puts up 15, and you're like, oh, cool. This is not. I don't even think he put up 15. He put up even less than that, probably. But like, yeah just absolutely slaughtered that. And Mechie too didn't help. But like, yeah, it's one of those things where you got to keep grinding, guys. You got to keep pushing that boulder. You got to be the meme chipping away in the mines looking for diamonds.
You're daggone right. Anyway, for Philip that said I need that logo, just go to stokastic.com/HOF, dude. You should have it, because if you win in top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you just get a free month of Sims Max. Win again, you get free month plus a free week. 3-time win. Doesn't matter if you're playing the quarter jukebox. $550 value, all access Sims for the whole month. And any 20K plus win, you get the beautiful custom ring and display case commemorating your win. Who doesn't want that? I'm telling you, man. I don't mention it all that often, but the Stokastic Hall of Fame, stokastic.com/HOF, you should be rocking that avatar. No doubt about it.
And if you're just signing up too, you should have the avatar because you get a discount. I know from some people that sign up through me that I see the discount. It's like an appreciable discount you get if you're
significant
paying for the monthlies.
With any all access. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If we're talking real cheap here, and I'll sort by salary for those of you guys, Lou Schoonmaker's we have 9%. He might get a red zone target here or there. Once in a while, he's involved. Malik Davis broke a big touchdown run against the Chiefs last week. That was kind of one of those that helps nobody situation, Spags, but he still exists. I don't know how much work he's going to get, but he's very cheap. Anthony Ferguson, jeez. Kennedy's down there. He's just underpriced. Kavonte Turpin. Ross Dwelly, I actually think, is fine here. We're slightly negatively leveraged there. There are a few guys that could show up on a day like today.
Yeah, Dwelly played over 40 snaps last week. He's not getting targets or anything, but still overall on the year, a 16% target per out run, which technically better than Isaac Tesla by a good amount. Actually double the amount Tesla's gotten in terms of target per out run. Not the biggest sample size, but the fact that he's playing 40 plus snaps out there. Ferkser was at 16. Dwelly was at, let me just get the exact number here. Dwelly was at 47. So that's real work. Yeah, Brock Wright, he's confirmed out already today?
Brock Wright's out. Yeah. And Raymond's confirmed out as well.
Okay. So no risk of that, fully going away, but those guys combined will play about, 60 snaps or so. So, would think Dwelly has a shot there. They're mostly out there to block. But if you're doing a build where you expect, certain players to fail, like again, if JMO doesn't hit that projection, it means there's a lot of yards, a lot of production that should go to other guys. And Dwelly could be one of those guys just based on the volume of snaps that he's out there.
Posted this one, the tails embedded as well for the FanDuel $2 million jackpot. I grabbed Ross Dwelly in that spot.
Ooh, that's fun because there's always been a lot of weird tight end touchdowns for Detroit, and people will go to the receivers. They'll go to Tom Kennedy probably more because of the fact that they just saw him play pretty well in Thanksgiving.
Yeah, maybe the answer, and it's not just the Lions. Thursday night football. I've always said this. Thursday night is the obscure tight ends score touchdowns nights. Go back and look. It happens all the time, man. It's obviously it's just purely anecdotal and random, but it doesn't feel that way. It does not. Chat will agree. And anyone that, bets the NFL or it plays DFS on Thursday, it happens all the time. Maybe the answer is Anthony Ferkser.
He'll be less owned. I mean, it is a pretty big snap discrepancy for Dwelly to play 47, Ferkser to play 16. So, that doesn't mean it holds this week, but I mean, if you were to think Dwelly's going to be owned, I think Ferkser would be the obvious pivot, but I don't know if people played Dwelly enough because he did literally nothing last week. He's only projected for 11% ownership. And Tom Kennedy's right there too. I think there's a world you could play both Dwelly and Tom Kennedy. It might pay off.
You probably could. And then just load up elsewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to spend the whole cap there, the whole 50K, but hey, any other players we haven't talked about? Because before we go, I do want to look through some of the actual lineups we're getting to. Real quick. Yeah. How about you and me the other night talking through that game, and we had the question about Singletary captain, and we pulled up the Singletary lineups at captain, and he ended up being winning tournaments for people in the captain spot.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that people sometimes don't see the pathway, but we kind of talked about what the pathway would be, which would be Tracy fucking up early. He also got hurt in that game too. That didn't help, but apparently he's going to be fine. Tyrone Tracy loves getting hurt and then being fine after the short period of time. But Singletary got out there, got the work. That's the volatility we talked about in a single game. But yeah, that was a weird one because it was a lot of Singletary work in that game. That was the best game he's had probably since he was a Bill.
Pretty good. I mean, he had a 2-touchdown game not long ago too. It's very odd. Sure. He's back. No, any other players you want to get into though before we look at some of these lineups?
Turpin and Flournoy will be out there 20 to 30 snaps. I think that, certainly Kennedy in that range, I think would be a more appealing play, but those guys can put up something here and they're both playing comparable amounts of work now. So it's not a clean split. Malik Davis, your backup RB at 1,400. It feels like he's made these showdown lineups a little bit more than I would like. So he's there. Span forward, if you're not playing Schoonmaker, I guess he's leverage against that. But he'll be out there 15, 20 snaps, something like that. Less than Schoonmaker, but still some amount. But I think that's it. I think, there's a lot of names you could play on the slate, and I think I wouldn't be mad at you, especially knowing how the Kennedy ownership is going to work out, where if you really don't want to play Tom Kennedy, you can just roll the dice on a bunch of guys in that range and hope that he somehow fails.
It does make me slightly uncomfortable that Kennedy is so popular at 2K. I mean, this is a career practice squad guy, seriously, he is. That's what he's a guy that always shows up in the preseason and then crawls back into his hole and typically doesn't even make it to game day as an active player. So that's what you're dealing with today. That is a lot of ownership, 40% to a 2K guy. It really is, Spags. So I get it. Do I think he should be the highest owned cheap option? I don't think there's any question he should be. And by cheap, I mean like that 2K range. But I don't know. One other thing I will say, it's not like his simulated player ROI is even that bad. It's actually one of the best. The worst simulated player ROI, Hunter Lepke, Ross Dwelly, Ryan Flournoy, Dominic Lovett, assuming he's active today, Jake Bates, Jared Goff. So we are like, if you look at who we're most negatively leveraged to, though, I think it's Tom Kennedy. Yeah, even though we still have 27%. So we don't even have him as a bad play necessarily with that simulated player ROI. It's just, it feels like he might be a little bit overowned.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the sim is just going, he shouldn't be the third highest owned guy on the slate, which I get. Definitely cash game. Like he's, I think, one of your first guys in a cash game. And I do like him. Like that's the tough part is like, I really think that Gibbs and Tom Kennedy make lineups today, like make a winning lineup, because I just think the roles are really right and the prices are right for those guys. But I think a lot of the field's going to think that. And that's the shitty part about showdowns is often you kind of have to hold your nose and not play the guys you actually want to play.
Man, Jahmyr Gibbs between captain and utility is north of 75% optimal rate today.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
Jameson's up there too. Wow. Look at that optimal captain probability for Jameson Williams. My God. Is Jameson Williams going to be that popular at captain? At 8,400, right? We've got him 24% owned at captain as the ownership projections. Let me see what the pool ownership is when I ran the Sims. 25,000. Yeah, 23. I honestly all right, I'm just gonna say it. Now we'll have live before lock tonight, Greg and myself. I may fade Jameson Williams at captain.
It's a ballsy move. I do think just how people are going to predict the slate to go. I think that Jameson Williams, Gibbs, and Tom Kennedy make a lot of lineups tonight, be my guess. So I think really you could just make a case, pull apart one of those things, and maybe two of them. But I think Jameson Williams, it's a lot. I wonder if the projection comes down a little bit as the Stokastic data team updates throughout the day, because that's a lot of projection on JMO. Like 20 plus fantasy points is a lot.
I don't think it will, man. He has an 83.5 yard receiving prop. It's the highest of any player on the slate.
What's his touchdown? Because I'm curious about that.
I'm looking for you right now. Even money.
Yeah, I guess, because that right away is, I mean, not even including PPR points, 14 fantasy points. So he would almost definitely make a lineup in the flex at that point.
Yeah, right. 5.5 reception prop, 83. So if you just take that, you're talking like 13, 14 fantasy points, even money. What are we projecting him for? Like 17, 18 at that price point?
Yeah. Yeah, no, the maths out, and that's always the case.
20.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's one of those things where like I feel like the game theory is strongest to try fade in, but ultimately, if you fade Gibbs and you get that right, you get the same payout. If you fade JMO and you get that right, you get the same payout. I think relative to how the field's going to play it, but that does make the math a little bit harder to feel good about a fade. I guess the best way to say that.
This is the last thing we'll do before we get out of here. I'm gonna cap him at 0% at captain, and just see what we get. So that gives us 43% Gibbs, 12% Pickens, 11 Javonte, 10% CeeDee Lamb. I'm not suggesting anyone do this. I'm just thinking through ways to get different, where you got a guy that's, 23% at captain. He's just clearly underpriced. But when you get guys that are clearly underpriced, sometimes I feel like go heavily overweight or heavily underweight. We'll see. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think those are totally fine thoughts to me. I think that I always try to come up with a contrarian thing, because showdowns, people get really cozy playing the most obvious stuff, and even the chat, it's like people pushing back, like the matchup's sweeter for JMO. I get it, like it all checks out, but you got to remember everybody else playing the slate's going to think the exact same way. So your job on any slate is to challenge that thought, see what you can try to pull apart, what you can try to fade, and what you can try to pull some ownership away from. JMO at captain. That's one of the things. Maybe he makes it in the flex no matter what. Maybe he and Gibbs are just going to make it in the flex almost in every outcome.
Happens very often that very popular players, particularly like pass catchers, do not perform. I like Jameson. Obviously, like if you just on paper, of course, Williams looks amazing in this game. It's just Spags put it perfectly. Everybody, like I'm not seeing something other people aren't seeing. Everybody clearly loves Jameson Williams today. So yeah, how about this? Deepak won a ticket to the FFWC, been on a roll. Yeah, the dude just took down the Millie too. So
that's a modest way to put it. Been on a roll. Yeah,
yeah,
a little bit of a roll.
Guy's killing it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got live before lock tonight. A whole lot more to talk through. I'm already posting bets. The tails already did. Got a nice little ladder play. We're going to have a lot of fun with this game today, one way or another. Come hit me up over on tails. Link is in the description if you're not there yet. And hey, if you guys have, we got a massive influx of ratings on the tails app yesterday. I know a lot of that was you guys. So thank you in advance for coming in there, leaving a rating and review for those of you who have loved it. We're just building something great. Everybody can comment now. So all users can comment on posts. We can have dialogue there off of YouTube. A lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff going on right now. So come check us out. All those free bets, DFS content as well. I'll have the perfect lineup out later today. And you can catch Spags over at Splash Play Pod here on YouTube and at Chris Spags on the Twitter. We will catch you guys back here for the next one. Spags, before we go, anything you want to say? The floor is yours.
I appreciate. Yeah, always glad to be here with you guys and with Lofty, of course, and check out doing another spin on Showdown stuff, looking at Stokastic data, looking at industry products as well. 12 p.m. on my Splash Play channel, 2 p.m. every day for NBA. So check one of those out, but good luck, guys. It should be a fun game. I think we have a fun Thursday night game, Lofty, which is what we've been dying for after a few weeks of some stinkers going on.
Yeah, man. And you put it well earlier. Everyone just assumes this game's going to go nuts. What if it doesn't? Keep that in mind when you're building lineups today. We'll see you back here for the next one tonight, live before lock, 7:15 Eastern. Bye-bye.